And here we go. Maybe. Wait for it. Wait for it. There, the music drops. Good evening, everybody. Scott Stevens here with a little look at some weather around the week. It's Friday, and it's Tongue Twister Friday, as we learned earlier this morning on the Coffee Break Show with Vicky Helm. And I see you in there, Vicky. So good to see you in here this afternoon with Karen and Darius in here as well. He says, "Can you believe this? Can you believe this? Drop some snow on Toronto. We need to cool down already." And not that I can't argue with that. I'm looking at my readings right now at about 79 outside. Let me see, hit the third button. Over 89.2 is the top here where I am in Southern Colorado. And that was by far the warmest day of the year. For us in the West and you in Toronto as well, this heat is going to be a temporary thing. But then after we get through what will be, what appears to be, and we'll go through that in a moment, two cool downs after these warm spells, then we're kind of going to be in for the long haul for summer. And that would only be appropriate because, boy, by that point in time, it'll be coming up on 15 to 20 June. And if we're not going to get hot by then it would be a really, really long winter or summer. That's too infectious, Darius. All righty. Let's pop on over here. Let's do a little bit of share screen action for a moment and for some odd window. And there we go. And that'll either come up full. Perfect. Let's start over here on Twitter and look at some of the headlines that are going on today around the world. NOAA satellites, you got to love the official narrative. Happy hashtag full disk Friday. This view from the 2006 to 2020 uses satellite information from these various satellite sources of the snow and ice overlay showing how snow and ice extends and then recedes. And we're in recede season now across the northern hemisphere and areas of frozen water. It's kind of like a heartbeat as they're illustrating. And we typically get our least extent or our greatest extent of snow at some point as we get to April, probably early April, before it begins to melt at some of these higher elevations at the lower latitudes. And then it is September, right in through here, probably mid-September before the cool nights. And then the setting sun, which will be set permanently in the northern pole, then allows for sea ice reformation. And we had a fascinating excursion where they took some Germans along with cooperation of other European nations, the Mosaic voyage, Moasic voyage, and they departed in northern Norway and then kind of drifted off in and then kind of got stuck in the pack ice and then drifted back this direction in a hurry. And they have spent the bulk of the winter locked into ice. And it'll be curious to see their results when/if they get published. While Washington, D.C., the Washington Monument takes a direct hit as some intense thunderstorms rolled there last night. And I'm a big fan of webcams, especially those that are focused on the sky rather than on the ground to catch lightning and whatever else may show up in the sky. Now that we have Cristobal, a full-fledged tropical storm, once again, we are seeing the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. In this particular case, the WP-3D Orion aircraft, made by Lockheed back in the 50s and 60s, takes off for the first operational flight of the 2020 hurricane season. We've had the C-130s also go out there, and then NOAA has Gulfstream jets if they want to do some other high-altitude surveillance. Mike Seidel tweets a stunning sunset this evening ahead of the impacts from Cristobal later on this week. Here's 11 p.m. ET forecast. So this is coming up on 21 hours old, and it has not really changed that much. They're still taking it into southern Louisiana as we get to Sunday night. There's nothing like an overnight landfall of a hurricane. That's just to keep everybody on edge. But excuse me, that's kind of what we're looking at it to make that Louisiana landfall would be Sunday night. Outside of that, in the next day and a half, the severe weather is going to be in the northern plains, the Dakotas primarily, South Dakota, if you want to head on up there and do a little storm chasing. And now Cristobal, as Stu Ostro tweets, now beginning to take on the classic formation of that calm ahead. And after it's soaked the Yucatan and given them a lot of rain, last year they had no tropical storms or nothing worthy of note. And with that, they were left in a rainfall deficit that exceeded 20, 25, 30 inches in a few locations in this area. The western portion of Cuba was included in that drought. And these rains from Cristobal undoubtedly have taken care of that particular situation. All right, I want to pop on over here and look at, let's go to Scotter's page here, and we'll do this because that's what I wanted to talk about. I thought I was good to go. And Scott, where are we? Don't tell me I'm going to have to, it's odd because sometimes you post something, it shows up on one browser and then not on another. And that's the case with the cloud photographs I had set up for the beginning of the show. And because I'm sharing from an application and not from the screen, I'm not going to be able to see them. But if you head over to the Facebook page, I was taking a look at some of the wave kind of clouds and what excites them, how they roll through. Maybe we'll end up just saving that for Monday, but nevertheless, they're over there on the Facebook page. All right, back to the weather. Not that freaky clouds aren't weather, because honestly, freaky is kind of why I'm here. As we look at the heat going on in the southern plains, with hundreds from the lower Colorado River Valley, 99 Salt Lake City, 99 in Ely, Nevada. That could be a Wendover, likely Wendover, those WV towns. 92 at Pocatello, 93 in Boise. So there's some hot in the Mountain West. And folks, that is going to be mighty, mighty temporary. There's cold weather not that far off as the next Pacific storm moves through. And when you see that inbound, that means that warm air has to scoot up ahead of it because the cold comes in and the heat, it wraps around and into it. And that's what we're seeing with all of the heat from Nebraska through Kansas, Oklahoma, and deep into Texas. And as we animate this satellite imagery with Cristobal down to the lower part of the vision, and that ultimately will, the cloud shield from that encompassing a good chunk of the Gulf by tomorrow evening. Where do storms pop up today? Well, they're continuing through the deep south, deep into Dixie. And then we've got this storm that has just drawn up so much heat. So much heat has been pulled. Oh, that's brilliant. I need to turn off those hot corners. All right, so it's pulled up so much heat as that heads northbound. And that's got those record high temperatures that we'll see here in a moment. But here's the cool weather coming in through the Pacific Northwest with clouds, some rain showers developing a little bit closer. And these are the wave clouds. These are kind of the resistance to the inbound cool weather. They're engineering wise, looks like they may be trying to slow it down just a little bit. Whenever these show up over the Great Plains states where there are no mountains, to where the mountain wave clouds would be introduced, you've got my attention. I'm going to see if I can zoom this in just a little bit right in through here and notice these clouds, how they tend to kind of run counter and across. There's a whole other set of wavelengths that shows up. And when you have these intersecting patterns, it really becomes, are they constructive or are they destructive? And in this particular case, when they rolled across the clouds, across the other first waveform, they kind of disturbed it, but ultimately ended up filling in the cloud field. And that would have been up in this area. They're not so tall that the radar is seeing them, and the droplets, the vapor inside there, not so great that they get any reflectivity out of the radar. But some showers deep in the Four Corners area where it is so hot. There are likely a few thunderstorms turned over, although I do have the warning overlay turned on. So where we are seeing the thunderstorms, Salt Lake, western end of the Salt Lake area, and then just southwest of Rapid City. And then, of course, into the deep south, where these thunderstorms have been marching almost due south over the course of the day in a nice horseshoe type fashion. So these guys are warned out. It's already getting dark or nearly dark there. And so they'll likely be a nice little lightning festival going on there, because it's nothing like sitting out there on the porch on a nice hot summer night and watching a lightning storm. All right, forecast. Lots of showers where we have the hashed green, at fire risk where we have the gray coming on in, and then a mix of cooler precipitation in the Olympics as we move out 2 days. That cooler showers, the cooler risk of rain snow mix begins to spread across the northern Rockies while we watch Cristobal begin to march north into Louisiana. By day 3, we have plain old snow written out for the Continental Divide and into the Bitterroots of Idaho, along and into West Yellowstone. That is just plain straight up snow with the fire weather out ahead into the warm, windy, dry conditions out ahead of it. Record temperatures, these were today, where we saw from 89 at Alamosa, 99 in Boulder, 92. That's either Malad or that's Pocatello, one or the other, MLD or PIH, into southern Idaho, but 96 in Boise. So those are at or near records. And what I'm curious about, though, are going to be some of these record cold high temperatures for Sunday. 43, a lot of 40s as we move out through the Mountain West and into the Sierra. So there's a nice little cold slug of air coming, but that lasts all of 2 days before we get to this coming Tuesday, where the West begins to return to more normal conditions. And then the heat moves to the Great Lakes states and then into East Texas, where triple digits will just be the rule of the day. So the jet stream pattern, got us to, hey, Ryan, good to see you in there, man. We've got this arcing wavy jet stream, and as this deep low moves in, that triggers the snow. At the same time, Cristobal moves to shore Louisiana, and then another round of cool air for about a week and a half away. And then, more interestingly, we begin to see the monster summer ridge take shape across the west, and that eventually just deflects the jet stream off to the north. And then the heat is on, as the song goes. But I want to, let's just head on over here, and this will wrap it up. This is where we expect to see the snows fall out of the storm over this coming weekend. So many of the mountains from Wyoming, western Montana, central and northern Idaho, even into eastern Idaho, we get into some of those higher elevations. 6 inches to a foot is certainly not out of the question. So be aware of that and what that does for the growing season up there. It kind of puts the gardeners on alert that some frost is definitely a possibility. That likely to extend to, say, maybe Nephi, Utah, down to the San Luis Valley of Colorado, probably into Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then probably no further east than that, simply because as we move east, elevation begins to come down, and then it's really not so much of a risk for those gardeners as the cold air stays kind of aloft. And then fresh snow, my goodness, that'll keep those afternoon highs on the cool side. All right, that's it for the day. Good to see everybody in there. Storms, yes, yeah, wow. So let's look at some of the freaky weather in the Mountain West, and then across the states. It's really kind of tranquil elsewhere, outside of a few good thunderstorms and a little festival of lightning in DC last night. Maybe we'll get some shots like that into New Orleans as we move deeper into the evening. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday, and we'll talk about what unfolded and Cristobal and how much rain and the risk of flooding. Because once she comes ashore, it's going to be kind of a bit of a slow go to get her up the Mississippi Valley and into points north. It's not going to stall out. It will keep moving, but nevertheless, there is a lot of water embedded into that particular storm. All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend. And as always, keep looking up.